May Jesus Christ be praised, and let us press forward with Mary. A very good and truly holy day to all of you, my dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and of Mary, and within the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back once again to our morning feature, Saints in Cafe, dear friends. Today is Friday, 5 September, and it is the first Friday of the month. So then, the Mass, communion offered, spiritual as well, wherever one is prevented, and offered in reparation to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Always, always, I warmly and earnestly urge everyone to keep this very dear, most precious and truly powerful practice, namely the first 9 Fridays of the month. It is a devotion, truly a devotion that Jesus himself has given, as you well know, to St. Margaret Mary Alacoque. And it is, without any doubt, one of the most important devotions. Today, the first Friday of the month, and then tomorrow, the first Saturday of the month, dedicated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Today, 5th September, in the Vetus Ordo, we are celebrating the feast of the first Patriarch of Venice, St. Lorenzo Giustiniani, born in Venice to a well-to-do and noble family. But he then made a deliberate choice, we could say a choice of truly radical poverty, because whenever you then wed yourself to God's logic, you actually embrace, and I would really say, the very logic of the gospel, and you feel this inner need for, let us say, a sober simplicity, a real sobriety, which in essence unfolds in 2 ways. The first way, the most evident, is the religious one of the friars, above all the Franciscans, though not only them, because with the 3 solemn vows, the 3 vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, one binds oneself, and binds oneself profoundly to Christ. And so this choice of deep poverty, which I repeat is a genuine pressing demand, there is nothing that you are truly sacrificing because you are embracing Christ, the true wealth, the real treasure. In Assisi, in the lower basilica, there is the espousal of St. Francis with Lady Poverty. The striking thing, I cannot recall if it is Giotto, perhaps not, who actually did it, who painted it, the thing that truly strikes you there in Assisi. Every time I've gone, I've always stopped to look at it, really to gaze at it. Our Lady Poverty is shown dressed head to toe in a gown of gold. It's a bit paradoxical, isn't it? It's Our Lady Poverty, yet she's all in gold, aureate. No, it isn't paradoxical at all. It is to show quite clearly that it isn't a deprivation, but a conquest. Christ the Lord, as St. Paul says, I count everything loss, if only I may gain Christ. There you are. These are the religious, yet anyone who chooses Christ then learns to live a sober life. Truly so, indeed. I would say this is one of the signs of the gospel. When our existence is being simplified, a real reductio ad unum, that is to say, a kind of return, a genuine reduction to what is essential, so that many things others chase after. Well, for you that is fine. They are important signs, truly important. So then, it is a radical poverty, the poverty of those in religious life, which is one of the evangelical vows. But then also, I repeat, whoever truly encounters the Lord does feel this strong need for essentiality, to take only what is needed for life, without then seeking or chasing anything else. Right then, St. Lorenzo Giustiniani, air conditioning aside, thing is, I'm sliding here, in a bit you won't see me anymore. Look, then every time I have to do this. St. Lawrence Giustiniani came from a wealthy family. He met the Lord and chose to live in poverty. However, this does not always truly happen, because what we are called to do is not what we may want, but what God in fact wants of us. Be mindful of this always. Whatever the Lord asks of us, we must indeed do it. And so, in the end, St. Lorenzo Giustiniani, to cut it short, since he had good qualities, the Pope of the time chose him as Bishop of Venice, and for the first time with the patriarchal title. Do you know that the Bishop of Venice is the Patriarch? Well, he was the first. He was a holy man. But today, 5th September, we also remember Mother Teresa of Calcutta. On this day, 5th September, there she is, God's pencil, who truly spent herself wholeheartedly, she too, to help the poorest of the poor on the planet. And Mother Teresa of Calcutta used to say of herself very simply, I am a pencil in the hands of God. She too had an existence, a life story that was truly incredible. She went all around the planet with an incalculable strength of spirit, with tireless, unwavering courage. She truly was an extraordinary woman, genuinely remarkable. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who receives the Nobel Peace Prize, and then deliberately uses that moment very clearly to condemn the practice of abortion. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, greatly esteemed by Paul VI, loved by John Paul II, and Mother Teresa of Calcutta was also a mystical nun. We only discovered after her death that she, who carried Jesus around the whole world, the woman someone, I think it was the Times, wrote in the 90s, the most powerful woman on the planet. Probably in a symbolic sense, she truly was. That is precisely why she is Mother Teresa, indeed. She was known right across the entire world. She trod the grandstands of the planet's powerful in order to help the poorest of the poor. And Mother Teresa, however, we only discovered after her death that for about 40 years, because these things are generally kept private and reserved. Let me explain better. She lived the abandonment of God that exists, what is called the dark night of faith. She felt it. It must have been for her an experience of being actually rejected by God, you see. She lived in a dramatic psycho-spiritual state because she was all for God. And then she was suffering because she truly felt like a hypocrite, because people kept calling her the Holy Mother. They called her a saint. They would say to her, God is in you. And she instead was searching for him, really searching. She could not find him and felt rejected, shut out. It was a trial to which the Lord had subjected her practically almost for the whole of her life, and she never ever spoke about it. I have met people who talk about it with everyone, which means they are depressed people and have other kinds of problems. When you talk to everyone, I do not feel God, and hear me there, because generally, when one lives such a refined experience, one struggles even to speak about it to one's spiritual father, if one has one, with the times being what they are, you see. Well then, Mother Teresa lived for about 40 years in the dark night of faith. God would take from her to give to others, and I would like to recall one last episode on this feast of Mother Teresa, which we all remember with great affection. And the episode she herself recounted when beginning her experience with some locutions. She had locutions where she spoke to Jesus with 2 R's in her pocket and a sari, and sets in motion this extraordinary work through the streets of Calcutta. And there she then also finds a woman, because that is how it works in Calcutta. He finds a woman, a poor woman who had been gnawed by rats, right by an open sewer. There are no public sewers there at all. So all the foul runoff simply goes out into the streets, spreading everywhere. And she was practically wrapped up in that sewage runoff, soaked and covered, gnawed by rats again and again. And she was there in that state, dying like that, dying just like that. So, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, well, I truly do not know how she managed it. I really do not. But she carefully picked her up. She gently gathered her up. And she took her from that slum, from the very back streets of Calcutta, to the first little house she was in the process of setting up. And there she washed her, she cleaned her, and tended to her. She cared for her with great attention, just in time, because she was on the point of dying. But before dying, Mother Teresa recounts that this woman said to her, "Why are you doing this?" Why had that woman never received any love ever? Why are you actually doing this then? In brackets, faith. St. James is indeed right, very much so. Without works, it is utterly dead. Let us ask ourselves, do we live the faith only for ourselves, or do we think of others? And how do we picture it so ideally? Closed brackets. Why are you doing this then? And Mother Teresa replies, my God has asked me to. And she says, all right, what exactly is your God called then? Why? She wasn't a Christian, taken from the slums. And she, Mother Teresa, responds, very calmly indeed, my God is called love, simply love. And that woman, she dies happy, truly happy to know then that there is a God who, despite the fact that her whole life had passed in that way, there in that place, was and is a God of love. Well then, this is Mother Teresa of Calcutta, about whom they can tell us very many things indeed, and beautiful things, rich, profound, intense. But this alone was enough to say indeed that today, together with St. Lorenzo Giustiniani, we remember the pencil of God. May Mother Teresa of Calcutta pray and intercede for all of us in this moment so dramatic for the Church. Days, dark days, 3 days of darkness, it would seem, truly. Not necessarily the strictly astronomical ones, no, but these 3 days of darkness could indeed be the ones we are living through now. Today, I do not quite know how you are. How do you feel when you pray, really pray? What do you sense? What do you actually notice? In Rome, the devil is winning by divine permission in these days, these very days. But we will come back to it in a moment. Now today, As well as being the first Friday of the month, it is Friday. So let me remind you of the two pious practices. First of all, it is abstinence from meat. We do not eat meat, nor any of its usual byproducts, so as to adore Jesus on the cross. And then there is the pious exercise of the way of the cross, in which, yes, in that very exercise, we are adoring Jesus on the cross. So then, let us truly adore our Lord, who is dying for us, and let us accept calmly and freely our own crosses. I remember that once, when the Medjugorje visionaries, in the very early years, still had the time to meet people, they actually did so. For quite a long time, the pilgrims were not yet there in great numbers in those first years. And Yakov, he does turn up, he comes along. Jakov, the youngest of the seers, was little then, and in that period he would meet the seers, meet the Italian pilgrims, and he makes time to let the pilgrims ask questions. A woman speaks up and says, "I am the mother of a little girl who died. My little one, my dear little one, my little girl died." And she says, "I often go to the cemetery to visit my daughter." She was putting this question to the seer, Yakov. And it is something that truly sticks with you. And she says, "I can see other mums who go because I am bringing my prayer to the graves of the children who are in the cemetery. Dear Yakov," she says, "I do pray so much, and yet why did God allow this in my life? What would you feel able to say to all the mums who have lost a child?" I really liked Yakov's answer because he replied like this: "In truth, every single one of us has a cross to carry, a real cross to carry in life. Yes, you have lost a child, but you are so focused on yourself that you do not notice there are other thousands and thousands, perhaps millions of crosses in the world, yet so often we hide them among ourselves, and there is no one who does not have to suffer on this earth." Get that firmly into your heads. Then the question is, how do we actually react? How do we respond to this then? Personally, I would say, speaking from a perspective of faith, but the cross, there really is no one at all who does not carry it sooner or later, sooner or later. I really liked Jacopo's answers. He actually said, "But we all carry the cross. Each one of us must carry the cross, because that way we will go to heaven." He said, well, now, he said it just like a child. He was still a child, more or less a child, and already he had grown up. But we must go to heaven, and we can indeed go to heaven if we carry the cross. If we bear the cross, we shall go to paradise. And this is something the devil does not want to hear, because he fears his little trick will be exposed, shown up for what it is. I mean, when you discover that the cross is a true source of blessing, do you understand? You really have won. You do not despair anymore. You do not blaspheme. You are not crushed or cast down. And that is a great defeat for the devil, a proper setback for him. We ought to get back to speaking the way we no longer do, to speaking plainly again about the fact that God allows crosses if he does not want them. See, because sometimes he does want them, he allows them. Why is that? Well, because he knows that we can carry the one we already have, the one laid on us. It is you, selfish and weak, who persuade yourself quite stubbornly that God has overdone it with you. And that is simply not at all. What do you know? That little girl, I'm speaking of the woman, what if, had she lived long, you'd have lost her and she'd have gone to hell, and instead you've got her in heaven? In recent days, I heard the story of a faithful woman that really struck me here, from the local little remnant, who had a near-death experience. Is that what it's called? No. I mean, she had had a car accident. This really, truly struck me. And she told me that she had been taken in great detail to heaven, what Natuza calls the green meadow, you know, right? And she told me something that genuinely, deeply impressed me. She said, "Father, I had in fact lost 2 babies through miscarriages. And when I went there, I was gently met by 2 children, a little boy and a little girl, smiling, so very joyful, and they were jumping up and down, happily playing on the swings. And one of them, I think it was the little girl, looked to be around 5 years old, and the little boy looked to be about 2.5 years old, roughly that age. In short, they were the very children she had lost and was now seeing again. Like, shall we say, little angels in paradise, truly. Nothing is lost, only what goes to hell is lost." So it is to say that quite often the Lord does not allow one path, he instead allows another for our good. But my life could have been so very different if I had not had this problem here, this burden, this trial. No, this is in truth the best life for you. This is your best path, your truest road. Had you taken another path, you would have been lost. lost as a man or lost as a woman. The cross is holiness. The cross is grace. The cross is blessing, real blessing. The cross can become even, and above all, I would say, a deep living source of joy. That is why we, on Fridays in particular, like today, the first Friday of the month, look to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and adore Jesus on the cross. Because I would like to tell you that our God did not come to say, carry your cross, sort yourself out, be patient. Who climbed it first? He did. So our Lord, who was innocent, went up on the cross and stayed there about 3 hours, agonizing for all of us. So there is no physical, moral, spiritual pain that has not already been pre-sanctified for you by the Lord. Your cross does not come to you as, how shall I say, a dark, heavy, rough beam, but it carries the scent of Calvary. There you are. Your cross truly smells of Calvary. That is to say, it smells of grace. It smells of holiness. It really does. Kiss your cross, my son and my daughter, who are listening to me. Kiss it now. Kiss it gently. Adore the Lord on the cross and kiss it, meaning receive it. Today, say to the Lord, Lord, I accept the cross you have sent me. It could not have been better. Got it? The first time, Father Amoth, they told me, other times they would say, he revealed interesting things that he had met a mystical nun, I believe from Rome, but in Rome they keep hidden, and rightly so, if they do not devour them. And this nun, Father Amorth was telling me, that on one occasion Jesus appeared to her and said, let us make a pact, and she replied, which one is it, Jesus? Every time I am going to be in pain because of the sins of men, whenever I am offended by humanity, openly outraged by blasphemies and brought low, humiliated by my own priests, I will lean upon you, I will rest on you. Do you accept this? And she, of course, my Lord, I love you, I accept it, I truly accept it. Father Amorth told me that, so every time she was unwell, when she was unwell with physical suffering and moral as well, the devil is all right, because then the devil, as St. Catherine of Siena says, is a minister of God in spite of himself. He hounds us and torments us only so that we can become saints for no other reason. In fact, are there people out there living in the world who look tormented by the devil to you? I don't know. Those in Porto Cervo, you know, where a pizza costs 40 euro? I saw that yesterday and I was shocked. A pizza, 40 euro? Are they mad? Anyway, he's dead. And then look, we all die. By the way, speaking of that, yesterday Giorgio Armani died. Careful now, one of the great, truly important signatures of Made in Italy. There is absolutely nothing to blame here. On the contrary, these are Italian labels that are, quite frankly, our pride across the world. And this really must be said. Giorgio Armani has done his part as well, because we Italians are, I would say, a bit ungrateful about this. He has given work, real work, to millions of people in Italy and all around the world. An artist, I'd say more than a fashion designer. He was an artist, Giorgio Armani. Then his personal life, I don't know it. He died yesterday, I think yesterday, and out at 91 years old. Right? He was 91 years old when he died, and just a few days before him, Emilio Fede, 94, passed away. So you see, these figures, these public personalities who tread the stages and the scenes of the world, or in any case, the television, the public eye, the prominence, the money, the power, the women, yet in the end, you die, do you see? In the end, you do die, and death wipes absolutely everything out. It reduces everything to nothing at all. And what are you left with? What remains in truth? What you have accepted from the hands of God, your cross, you carry your cross. In the past, they used to say you bring your good deeds before God. It is truly so, but I would say if you agree, I say this as a theologian, you bring your own cross. If you have not pushed it away, well then, that cross really does save you. That cross. Who knows if you truly accept it with love, because the cross really must be accepted with love. Look, everything is love, absolutely everything. Beware of Catholic rigorism, of crypto-Jansenism. I do see, even around me, people tormenting their souls because they think they must reach holiness through good deeds alone. And that is right, but before anything else, it is holiness. It is welcoming God within us, his love. Then this person who was telling me of her near-death experience said to me, Father, God judges no one there and then. Later, though, as she explained it, I found it was true. I mean, she says God looks at you in that moment, and you see yourself. See, your whole life is passing, your whole life set right before you, under God's steady, unwavering gaze. And so you see how much you turned away from love. How little have you loved? How many chances to love have you missed? We shall be judged on love. So I liked all that fine talk we have had. But now we move on to something else entirely. In the meantime, let me gently remind you that at 5 o'clock there is the Holy Rosary, and this evening at 21 the Pioneers are on, with one, after which there follows a brief reflection of mine. Now then, let us finally move on to today's episode, which, as you already know, is titled, now you can see the window on screen, Jubilee LGBTQ+, and the Catechism. There you are, plainly, Jubilee LGBTQ+, and the Catechism. Right, first off, I would like to direct you, indeed to redirect you, to last night's reflection held on YouTube, on Radio Domina Nostra's YouTube channel. For those who couldn't manage to follow it, here it is, the Jubilee Trap, LGBTQ+, and you will find it on Radio Domina Nostra's playlist. Do you want to know a detail which, however, will only be a rather banal coincidence? A person from the control room told me, she was saying, Father, yesterday something strange happened. She says, it is not the first time. I myself do not see these things because I'm entirely focused on the catechesis. I am not interested. They told me this morning quite simply. Namely, there were, the director said, showing as live viewing numbers, 500 people, 500 in total. It was showing for me, given the topic now. Listen to this. And it really did seem rather odd to me, Father, because you simply do not usually get numbers that low at all. And the topic, so very important, was on in prime time. It's in prime time. In prime time, he says, I really wanted to take a proper look on another smartphone, not the one they were streaming from, but on the other one I had to hand, just to see how we were actually doing. And he told me, if I remember rightly, this morning at breakfast there were 1,700 people. Well then, thinking the worst now indeed. In the control room, it showed 500 people live. On the other phone, it was about 1,700. How does that work? Anyway, just to tell you about the widespread ostracism, and as long as these platforms exist, there's still a bit of grace. So, the Jubilee. But look, I need to say something important because I was about to forget it. I did mention yesterday, very, very briefly indeed now, that for a couple of weeks the Betania Center in Savigliano is going to be closing, simply closing, because there is actually a chapter that Brother Celestino and I and Brother Celestino will need to be carefully, thoroughly handling with the nuns, as it is truly, genuinely quite important to do it properly. And so those who are there really, really do have to come. They have to come in person, really. And then Father Enrico, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, will be in Rome. Let's get straight to it then. They are getting ready. From today, the program is beginning, as you already know, for the Jubilee of the LGBTQ+ world. So what is this Jubilee? We have been talking about it at length these days, and I have been speaking about it since Monday, really since Monday. And this now is the second half of the match. First half was Pachamama. The first half was Pachamama. And this Jubilee pilgrimage is about the category, let us call it that for clarity, of people who are homosexual, lesbian, transsexual, bisexual, and so on and so forth and so on, as is usually said. There is, as you well know, quite a considerable and rather long acronym for people who choose to identify themselves with this or with that other sexual orientation. Right then. And the program, frankly, you already know it. You know it well. You are familiar with it. You know what it is. It kicks off today, this afternoon, at the Jesuits' General Curia, the one just a stone's throw away. I used to go there because my supervisor, the supervisor of my doctoral thesis for my doctorate in Rome, Father Anton Widmer, a Jesuit, was a Jesuit, an Austrian Jesuit, and so he lived at the General Curia. So I, on foot, I was young, from Piazza della Pilotta, there by the Trevi Fountain, where the Pontifical Gregorian University is, I would go to discuss my thesis. Father, Professor Widmer, at the General Curia, which is there, near the Church of Santo Spirito in Cassia, where there is the cult of divine mercy. 2 steps away, there is this enormous imposing building, which is the General Curia and headquarters of the most powerful so-called pseudo-Catholic lobby, the Jesuits indeed. And there, this afternoon, not by chance, that is exactly where this program you all know so very well is beginning, and it is going to culminate tomorrow afternoon with the rainbow cross passing through the holy door. A few figures really do stand out, two in particular. One, on a truly global level, is by now well known thanks to my ongoing reflections. I am speaking directly to you who follow me. Father James Martin, and I would say that he is indeed a pro-homosexual influencer, one who has personally met Pope Francis, who publicly encouraged him, and who now has also met, last Monday, he met Prepost as well, and who then gave him all the honors of the house, the courtesies of a host and a formal reception, having received and welcomed him, as you know, in his own private library, in his personal private library, at the table where presidents, heads of state, political and religious authorities, and all the rest are formally chosen. You can quite clearly see him sitting in that armchair where he really should not be sitting, though, not at all. He is seated there, right there, facing the false pope, the foreman, the operative implementer, after the taking of the Bastille, of the final deliberate program to bring about the destruction of Catholic identity. These days, everyone is talking about the coming out, the outing of Father Leonardo Maria Pompei. We assure him of our closeness in prayer and our solidarity. I saw him looking very distressed, gaunt, and that is understandable. I have been through it myself, as have my confreres in the sodality, so I know what it means, but it is still not quite clear. What he did was in itself a good thing. I mean, he has actually said it does not suit him anymore. He simply cannot stay with this church. And with the synodals, he is just, except that reading between the lines, I was told he also stated, you lot can still go to Mass, and so on and so forth. So it is the same old refrain, and then you really cannot tell where he is thinking he is going to go. Apparently he is going with the traditionalists, perhaps even with the sedevacantists. We do not really know at all as yet. But it is a very telling sign of what is happening in these very days. That is to say, a personality who is, in any case, quite morally unimpeachable and truly transparent in his vision of faith. Sorry? From that point of view, that is how I am speaking about them, and I will stop right here. Everyone has their own cross to carry. Speaking of that, God has given me the cross of mockery, no, of envy, and of censorship as well. People really must not, absolutely must not speak about me. Anyway, I was saying, and I mean this, you know it, I cannot act. And Don Leonardo Maria, in terms of doctrine, is pure water. And I think, so, I announced that I reckon that since I no longer trust the small remnant, I'm staying put. Forgive me, but that's how it is. You are fickle and incoherent people. Many, not all, but a good part, yes. And I'm feeling it on my own skin. In fact, within the very same small remnant, we have tensions you know well. About 29 June. But what I wanted to say is that I foresee that quite a few people are going to go to him because many were with him. But they did not like that he was with Bergoglio. And for years he, perhaps thinking of me as well, kept on insisting, obedience to the Pope, obedience to the Pope, obedience. At long last, he has realized obedience has got absolutely nothing to do with it. And he probably thinks Bergoglio is even the Pope, has been the Pope, just as he perhaps thinks that the very same priest is the Pope. In short, there is, all told, a great gulf. The doctrine is genuinely pure, just like our own, yet he is taking a different line altogether. You will see, you surely will. Please remember these words of mine, spoken today. How many of our own people will in the end leave us? People who truly gave their lives, yet, because now Father Leonardo Maria Pompei, like others who openly came out around this time last year, plainly did so. And people who were with us, and then went off with the first bloke who comes along. Who knows why, really? You are just like the people of Israel. God complained about it, he really did. Stiff-necked people, said God, stubborn and unyielding. I took you when you were, at times, time and again, steeped in blood, mired in it. I made you a princess, raised you up. At the first man who passes by, you betray me, says the God of Israel, you turn your back on me. And it seems to me it is the same here, exactly the same spirit. You never take to what God is trying to do with Don Minutella, not really. Not you lot first, you lot, you above all. But if others then make their choices, at last they make them. Ah, yes, Father Leonardo. Right, they wrote to me from Pompeii. Thank you, Father Minutella. Just imagine what crosses I have to bear. Thank you for what you did. I am going back to where I came from. At last the desert is over. I have been of service during the desert. All right, so now Father Leonardo Maria Pompei has left, so some of our people will go with Father Leonardo Maria. Mind you, though, for him, the Pope was Bergoglio. Look, he is saying you can go to Mass, and he is the one making that choice. He personally is not doing as I did, telling you not to go. Right, fine, but let's get back to us. Father Pompei's outing is symptomatic of a situation that's under pressure. I mean, that What is this Jubilee of the LGBTQ plus world? What is it? There's Father James Martin. Two of them are telling me, Father James Martin, the one who, first of all, when Fiducia Supplicans came out, immediately celebrated a gay marriage. Even if he was talking about a blessing, he went ahead and did it off his own bat. He didn't do it, if anything, as the document clearly laid down. But that doesn't matter. Quite the opposite. It really does not. And then he even stood by and witnessed the kiss between the two, because he's one of those who fights so that gays and lesbians can kiss, though they already do, kiss in public and openly hold hands out in the open. Does any of us jump on them? I do not think so. They do as they please, but the problem here is something else. Now they have knocked with Father James Martin and the other. I must also say that the other one, as I was saying, is Monsignor Savino, Bishop of Cassano allo Ionio, Vice President of the Italian Bishops' Conference for the South. He is going to preside at Holy Mass tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Yes, tomorrow at 11. The Holy Mass for the faithful of the LGBTQ plus Jubilee. Now, that could mean a couple of things, a few different things, but if I do not really see myself in that, let us say, in this label here, can I still go to this Mass, to this same Mass? Or is it only for... This is an important question, and I am putting it this way because I really would not want that. If I do go, seeing as I am married, right, to my wife, and my daughter comes along as well, they look at me, you know, strangely, as if I do not belong there. As if to say, what are you even doing here? You're far too normal, you know. You're outdated, really. Haven't you realized the church doesn't look at you lot anymore? Not at all? No, and it's true. The church for you, the traditional family, just isn't enough. You've really done our heads in. Now it's us, me with my trans partner. What are you doing here? I didn't know what I didn't know. I heard there was a Mass. For me, yes, but it's the LGBTQ plus Mass. Didn't you notice we're here? That there's a rainbow cross? No, to me it looked like a cross, you know, one of those that come from Africa, because we're in Rome. No, it's the rainbow cross. So take a seat. But you, what do you think, really? Because that poor bloke then has to be told, has to actually hear it, while already feeling like some sort of archaeological relic, just for having walked in with his wife and his daughter. The wife is a woman, clearly, female gender. He is male, male gender, male and female, he created them. And there is the daughter who is not, who is also plainly of the female gender. And there they are, all of them. The poor sods wound up there, they did not know. And then the poor sod's got to hear it. He has, from that illustrious one, he's got to hear, and you, what do you think, since you're here now? Look, just because you've seen how many we are, what do you think? Ah, the poor bloke, he's left with nothing to say because he's there in the, got it, God forbid it's inside or near the tomb of St. Ignatius of Loyola. He says to him, are you joking? Absolutely not, and God does not allow it. I do not know what end he would come to, I do not know. And Savino, the bishop, who is rather stout, what would he be capable of doing? Who knows what homily he has prepared for tomorrow? So the very first problem really is the Mass for LGBTQ+. But there is something even more problematic, and that is the Mass itself. Because one celebrates the Mass in order to renew the sacrifice of Christ on the cross in an unbloody manner, right? Yet it truly has a benefit, and it effectively brings a real benefit to all of us. The Mass truly does bring the benefit of sanctifying grace, right? And that grace is indeed really conveyed through Holy Communion, that is, the Eucharist itself. Receiving the Eucharist and go to communion, receive Jesus. Now then, the Church clearly teaches that in order to receive our Lord under the Eucharistic species, you must be properly confessed. So, confessed, that is, truly confessed and in a state of grace, confessed, yes, but perhaps I went to confession a week ago or a month ago, earlier on. Still, to draw near, to approach Holy Communion, I must be in a state of grace, really and truly. There must not be mortal sin, not even one, not at all. This is exactly what the Church clearly teaches. I openly challenge those damned heretics over in Rome to come and prove me wrong if they truly have the courage. This is precisely what the Church is teaching, formally and clearly, in the Catechism. In order to come forward and receive the most holy Eucharist, one must have been duly confessed and be truly in a state of grace. That is to say, not in mortal sin, not living in mortal sin, but standing before God in grace. But the previous evening, perhaps the two gay men had slept together because they truly love each other. Pope Francis himself told us, and for many years we've been fighting hard to say it is not a sin. Now, the new Pope has even received James Martin. Look, he is there by the altar. He is celebrating all smug. That is what they tell us. What do you want? Who are you? Where are you from? Go and build your own church, and do not come here to bother us, will you now? But look, you cannot come up for communion. Please, my beloved gay brother, I beg you, I implore you. Oh yes, oh yes. It is already wrong that you are here. You must not classify yourselves, otherwise it becomes a classist problem. And then it is your problem, not ours, because you insist on identifying yourselves at all costs like this. If you are Catholics among us, it is not true the doors are closed. They make you believe it, but it has never been true. Read the documents of John Paul II and Benedict XVI on the matter. You have always been welcomed in the church, always. It is not true that there is discrimination where there is. It is not done in the name of the Pope and of Holy Mother Church. So there was no need to organize this Jubilee. The Jubilee is for workers. You're gay, you work. Do you have to join the workers because you must label yourself as gay? What for? You live with this, don't you? There's no need to label yourself. But above all, I beg you, Luxuria. Hello, I am Don Minutella. What are you doing here? No, nothing at all. I have come to tell you, do not go up for Holy Communion if you are in mortal sin. And who told you that it is a mortal sin? Pope Francis told me. Carry on like that. He was wrong, quite wrong. Oh, come off it. He was the Pope. And who are you then? No, he was wrong. Look. Do you see the word of God there? Yes, but now they've told us they have actually changed it. But they simply cannot do that. They just cannot. Luxuria, who told you that? Was it the Lord himself? You're writing your own damnation. Look at this photo, I'll show you a photo of Fernandez back when he was a bishop in Argentina, hugging a trans person with a stole that says, life as it comes. See? See, dear LGBT brothers, I do love you. I truly care for you. I assure you of this, and I say it to you in the Lord with the authority that if we truly care for one another, and I love you, I really do. Yes, I feel a very great love for you. Only God knows, and he knows well, if I speak the truth, a great, great love. Precisely for this, I am telling you, I beg you, do not come forward to the Holy Eucharist if you are indulging in sexual cuddling with people of the same sex, with trans people, and so on and so forth. God does not want it. Just as Saint Maria Goretti, who was dying because there was a man who wanted to rape her, but she was a virgin, she was chaste, there was no marriage. And so she allowed herself to be killed, crying out, God does not want it, it is a sin. It truly is a sin. And you should cry out tomorrow in the Church of the Jesu, looking to Saint Ignatius of Loyola and to Christ on the cross. God does not want sin, God does not will sin. So then, if you truly are firmly convinced, thanks to these men like Jorge Mario Bergoglio, Victor Manuel Fernandez, James Martin, Giuseppe Savino, and the list, alas, is rather extensive, indeed rather long, that this is no longer a sin, that it is no longer to be called sin at all. You are quite mistaken. You are very much mistaken. They are doing it on behalf of Satan, deliberately to deceive you, because you are weak, vulnerable subjects, not by your own fault, but for what you come to represent after you. Are you the proof, then? That trans friend over there, how on earth would I even know? I do not really know what to call her. Maria, a trans from Rome? No, Maria, you are quite clearly, beyond doubt, the proof of what I am telling you. You know, you are really, truly making me right now. Maybe just one person walks out of there and says, he's right. He really is right. Absolutely right. This one here, I'm saying, look, I'm actually giving you the acid test. The real proof. We're in 2000 E2526. The next one, the next great battle, after you lot have supposedly sorted yourselves with the devil as you draw near while defying and openly breaking God's law, let's hope without you even knowing it, will in the end fall to the women. After you, it will be the women in the church, the ones who must go up to the altar. A new battle is going to begin. It is already being set up, and they will formally receive the nun who is the representative of the dicastery, the one who speaks in the name of all Catholic women, who within the various associations are asking very clearly, why not us at the altar? So then after the LGBT plus world, it will be the turn of the 68 feminist world, inevitably. They are the so-called marginalized realities, the ones they keep pushing on so hard that they end up serving, let us say, as the synodal banner, the rallying flag to change the founding statute of the church, just as Jesus Christ willed it, you see, you understand. And they will come to notice at the Eucharist. They will accuse us at the Eucharist, many of them, and among them there will be. This too is even more serious, because here it is not only the sin against nature, immoral therefore, which God can never bless. Let them get that quite clear in their heads. But here there is also the problem of militant activism within gay pride. That is to say, you can be quite sure that in all probability, I would not put my hand in the fire, I would not swear to it, but I do not in any way rule it out. There will be prominent figures from the gay pride world, recognized names and leaders who are going to take part tomorrow, gladly and publicly, who will very willingly join this demonstration. And how can you possibly be marching along behind the floats with people naked, dressed and undressed in that sort of way, with Madonnas with their breasts openly exposed, with Christs with their backsides up in the air, and then come and receive Holy Communion at the Church of the Jesu without repenting? Because the problem here is not welcome. They are there over there. Savino, the prelates, and the Gionata Association are playing it. The Gionata Project, they are playing it. All of it. The LGBTQ plus rainbow activism plays it on the magic word welcome. But that is not it, because it is not true that there is no welcome, but that it is someone who goes to Mass. Suppose a gay person isn't allowed into church. Is that the case? I don't think so. It's Don Minutella who isn't allowed in. And if he walks in, they throw him out. But a gay, lesbian, or trans person walks into church, they are not thrown out. So it is not true that this is about welcome. It is about getting a role. The t-shirts they are spreading right now. Look, I had it there, and they are t-shirts with slogans. Love drives out fear, which is a biblical word. The love, you know, is a subliminal message. The two of us are people of the same sex. There may be the fear that we commit sin. But fear, no. So love drives out fear, and therefore let us love one another. Look, the scenario, as you can clearly see, is not different. Indeed, it is actually even worse than Pachamama. And this is the immediate and frankly quite cryptic opening, the prelude to this very opening here. All right, he is not going to officially receive the LGBTQ plus world, but they are crafty, and I am right here to call them out. He has already done it in advance, because on Monday he received the promoter and influencer, Father James Martin. And in the private library, with full formal honors, and as someone carefully pointed out to me, he actually received him under the very same conditions in which he had been received before, photographically speaking, by Bergoglio. A way of saying there was continuity, because if, as they claim, he was against it, as those pitiable una cum lot want you to believe, why are a couple of them now having a go at Don Leonardo Maria Pompei for leaving the church? What church? He did well to leave. Either way, wherever he goes, he did well to leave the Church of Satan. And the una cum lot in una cum keep on pretending not to see it. But supposing if really, as they themselves are saying, as Cascioli is explicitly writing and so on and so forth, we must actually see what he thinks, because he has not spoken. He has not formally spoken. And he has not spoken because if he had not wanted to approve and actively encourage this blatantly blasphemous two-day kermesse between today and tomorrow, he simply would not have. Right, now look at this. Just look at it, the sponsor of the Gionata project. You can see it clearly. There's the nun, and then that other person there who is supposed to be a priest, and it has written plainly, in love there is no fear. Well then, that is meant to be the subliminal message, the thing they are trying to put across. However, if he truly had not wanted to welcome it, that is to say, if he really had not intended to encourage this initiative in any way, but still had to receive it all the same, he would without any doubt have done it in a different setting, in a different context altogether. Instead, and if you go and have a look, set side by side and front on, the photo of Bergoglio's private audience with Father James Martin and the one with Rose, it is absolutely identical. It is a way of saying that truly and quite plainly, beyond the words in the images, which are worth more than 1,000 words, there is the clear will for a continuity, so it really does not mean anything that tomorrow he does not meet them. He has already met Father James Martin, and instead of pointing the finger and saying you are acting against God's law, that one walked out of there without any denial from official Vatican sources, saying there is continuity between Pope Francis and Leon. So from this point of view, the situation is more than grotesque. More than grotesque, but tomorrow, well, I mean, sorry, today, and then tomorrow there is going to be the crossing of the Holy Door. So Maria, the one I mentioned just a moment ago, the trans from Rome, today and tomorrow she stops, she pauses, she holds back. Do you understand what it is that they want us to keep skirting around, to keep circling around? Today and tomorrow she stops, takes part in this event, and what does she do? She goes to Mass, she does not go to confession, and she goes up for communion in a state of mortal sin. Or else he goes and confesses, worse, still far worse, because to confess one truly must make the firm resolve not to commit mortal sin again, ever. Then he goes up to the Eucharist, profaning it. And then on Saturday, still in a state of mortal sin, he deliberately passes through the Holy Door. On Monday morning, he resumes his work with an enthusiasm you simply cannot imagine. Before turning to her clients, she is going to hand out the little rainbow cross, and she will say, I have been to the Holy Door. However, she will then take up her work again, quite happy, because she has been told very clearly that it is not a sin at all, finally, at last. Isn't all this worse than Pachamama? I do think so, yes, I truly think so. But let us now look carefully at the Catechism of the Catholic Church regarding homosexuality. It actually devotes 3 articles to it. Let us read. No, let's read the last one because time is short. Let's read the third, number 2359. The Church teaches in the Catechism, which should still be in force. Forgive me if I may remind you. People with homosexual tendencies are called to chastity. We were saying at the start of this broadcast that since today is Friday, we must carry our cross. He was born that way. Do not ask yourself why, and simply accept it. Do not oppose these truths at all, or you will feel even worse. I accept your condition in life. It is not any kind of subnormality. You are like every other human being, only that you were born male and you feel you are a woman, or the other way round. All right? However, do live in chastity, because God has not granted you, let us say, this possibility together with the grace to face it, to bear it. Do you understand? God always gives the grace needed to face life's trials, truly and unfailingly. And at the start, we were saying quite precisely that we have to carry our crosses, right? That we must bear them. And an episode comes to mind. But first, let us read on. Let us finish reading. Homosexual persons are called to chastity through the virtue of self-mastery, true tutors of inner freedom, with the help at times of disinterested friendship, together with prayer and sacramental grace. They can, and indeed they must, gradually and resolutely draw near to Christian perfection. They can, and they must, they truly must. I would like to know from those in Rome, starting with the provost and the false pope, whether this number is still genuinely valid. If it really is valid, then today and tomorrow you are quite simply putting on a carnival. Today and tomorrow you are doing something that goes against apostolic tradition and the voice of Peter, the magisterium. But we are welcoming them, yes, but you are not telling them. You will see that between today and tomorrow the plans will be those. You are welcome, you are at home. The home? Todos, todos, todos. The home open to all. Walk life as it comes. Keep going, just as Bergoglio told Vladimir Luxuria. Do not worry, he goes on, keep on along this road. As Emma Bonino used to say as well, a staunch abortionist, an abortion activist in years past. Do you remember? And he never told her publicly to make amends? It does not matter. Do you see how it works? This is very serious. What is going to happen tomorrow is very serious. So the church itself, the church teaches that one must carry the cross that God allows, and so must homosexuals. This is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2359, unless it has changed, in which case, let them say so. And the fact is, those lot in Rome are sly, slimy crooks. They're snakes, pure snakes. And I'm absolutely right, because I am quite explicitly quoting the Catechism. And where are the priests these days then? Does it not burn you? Does it not? Someone dear to me in Rome, he actually wrote to me this very morning, Father, for this evening. His face looked blacked out. No, it was only a trick of the light, because I, thanks be to God, have always got a face that is fair, fair as the sun. But of course I suffer, I do suffer, not for what is happening in Rome, but for the silence of the priests and the bishops. It is inexplicable. It's unexplainable. If not as a kind of general possession, a sort of, how shall I put it, a truly satanic influence that is actively taking over people's minds, holding them. I really cannot explain it otherwise, honestly, because otherwise the priests from the pulpits today and tomorrow ought to have organized a proper vigil, a real time of prayer in reparation. How then? But by now they can do absolutely whatever they like in Rome, because there is a church, a clergy, dozing, nodding off like Peter, James, and John, who, while Judas was awake and alert to betray Jesus, they were fast asleep. They were sleeping on. Judas is awake at night, properly awake, because he is bargaining with the Sanhedrin, quite literally, comes calling to sell the master, and the three are there, dozing off, still snoring away. And here the very same thing is actually happening right now. Souls are lost. Christ is deeply offended now. Rome is being profaned now. The priests are fast asleep, truly, truly asleep. One has woken up, Don Leonardo Maria Pompei, and they are piling into him with holy fury. The bishop by name, Crociata as it happens, that is what he is called, has already suspended him a divinis. Poor man, not Don Leonardo. He made the right choice in leaving. A pity we do not quite know where he is going. Poor man. And the bishop, who has to answer like some old-time apparatchik to whoever ordered him to say, suspend him at once, and to say it was Jesus. He wrote to him, do not wear the habit anymore. Who is supposed to wear it then? Your priests who do not wear it, who should and do not wear it. What kind of Harlequin church is this? And while Judas, who is the provost, and Father James Martin and Monsignor Savino are selling off the faith, the priests like Peter, James, and John, there in Gethsemane, are sleeping. They are sleeping. Here is an appeal then to these our brothers. Who knows, perhaps there is someone, truly someone, from this respectable and beloved LGBTQ plus world who is listening to us, who is indeed listening and might well change their mind. Do not go. Do not let your soul be poisoned. Do not let it be darkened. That is not what the Lord wants. This is a counter parade. This is a counter narrative, and it stands against it. And the anti-liturgy of satanic stamp is Satan deceiving you through those you regard as men of God. Father James Martin is not a man of God. Robert Francis is not a man of God. Bishop Savino is not a man of God. They are partisans of Satan. If you want to believe them and carry on, so what then? Shouldn't I join my partner? No, you must not. Bergoglio has made you believe that the itch below the navel is irresistible. It is not. Apart from the fact, if I may be allowed to say something, and I say it with all due respect, I would not want to be misunderstood, because this does not apply only to the LGBTQ plus world. It also applies to husbands and wives as couples. The average age of those who are going to go, frankly, is quite high. Because we should also say this, a good number, perhaps the vast majority, do not care about the LGBTQ plus world, the worldly one. As for the rest, they are not much bothered by all this. It is just a slogan on the synodal wayside. The church is about to change, but what I want to tell you is that the average age is high. So I would say, but a 60-year-old gay man, sorry, I say this with all due respect, but should he not be dignified when he's told at 60, moreover, that he has to live in chastity? I can understand a 20-year-old, but a 50-year-old, even a 40-year-old, is not 20 anymore, not at all. Little by little, the testosterone, it does drop. And the man, bit by bit, accepts that and starts to invest in other things, in other areas, in other interests. No, truly, I have always seen this. I really have. Young couples, husbands are a certain way, couples later in life. Then you slowly find that as the carnal sexual verve wanes, other qualities start to come to light. The wife at last begins to be once again the friend, the confidant, the trusted one. A little incident, a hiccup. You go for walks, you spend time together, you stay close. Not like this old woman here in Sinisi who once, when her 80-year-old husband was going out, told him in Sicilian, go out and stay out till this evening, because she had to mop the floor. Go out and come back this evening. So, to go back to what I said, it is possible to live chastity. It is not true that it is not, because then there is the grace of God. The saints lived it, priests are called to live it, you see? And nuns do live it. So then, what I would like to say is this. Is it really possible to live chastity? It is not true that it is impossible, as Bergoglio and his collaborators and the Freemasons have wanted people to believe. And it is not that because you live it, you are all stiff in plaster. At the start of this mission of mine, I was always struck that many men, women know, are not suspicious in this. Men are dreadful. Saint Faustina used to say so. They gossip more than women, do they not? Men, when it comes to sexual suspicions, are dreadful, dreadful. I will give you an example. I go to the beach, sometimes because I like the sea. I am speaking knowingly, you know, right? If men see me in my swimming costume, having a dip, it is half a scandal. What on earth is so scandalous about, I saw Don Minutella at the seaside? Honestly? Instead, they do see me, and far more so the women, and for them, thank God, it is something completely normal, entirely ordinary. They say to themselves, why should he not? He needs it. He himself says he goes to the sea. Of course he does. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I have always been, as you know, very at ease with the female world, and it shows, you can see it, both those who are very close to me and at a wide range, very, even quite free and easy, relaxed, unembarrassed. So chastity is not a plaster cast, nor is it being all stiff. I do not know if you get what I mean. On the contrary, it releases unsuspected energies. It truly releases unsuspected energies. It unleashes energy. I say this to the LGBTQ plus world plainly, and chastity indeed unleashes. Just like that couple I am closing with now. Like that couple who once told me, quite convinced, they came together, husband and wife. They were in their 50s, locals. I was still serving as a parish priest then. Father, my husband and I, he kept quiet, completely silent. Face dark, a very closed look. My husband and I have now decided to fully embrace chastity. I looked at her husband. I was not terribly convinced. So she went on, mystical, spiritual, astonishing stuff. Then I asked him, and you, what do you say? He looked at me, then at her. Has she decided it all? No, marital chastity at any age is a joint decision taken together. Ladies, do not be sly, please. You need clear mutual consent, because for a man, the sexual dimension is genuinely different from a woman's. In fact, it would be very interesting to see how gay people interpret it. This is not a provocation. It is simply plainly a fact. I would like to, but they will not talk with us. We are the medieval prudes. They would rather go along with Father James Martin. Let them do as they please, but I would truly like to talk with them, because a male's perception of sexuality is never quite the same as that of a woman. Is that true or not? Women grasp this more than men do. Why has the male got no separate reflection? Who is meant to do it about his own sexuality? Just impulse, full stop. And the wife is just the wife. But a woman wants sexuality to be seen, lived and placed within a very precise horizon, without which horizon the woman suffers. She experiences giving herself as a kind of half-violence, even if she does not show it and does not let the man in. He is so selfish, he does not even notice. Now, in a relationship, say, between two gay people, it's said there's an active and a passive part. Basically, who plays the man? I don't know. These things shouldn't be up for debate. But it would be interesting to understand who takes on the sexual outlook in a feminine way, because that is needed. If I read it instead with both of them in the masculine way, if I do not really know, it is all quite an interesting thing. The church asks for chastity. There is no getting out of it unless they change the catechism. But if they change it, do you know what they will do? And it is from Bergoglio that they are openly saying it, and the prelates are steadily heading in that direction. He actually said it in recent days, I think, at a general audience, and it is the practice that counts, pastoral practice, not doctrine. They are being crafty. Since they know they cannot change this because of the catechism, they say it is pastoral practice that counts, lived experience, the field hospital, not doctrine. Doctrine is stones, hard stones. Remember the Jubilee when Bergoglio asked pardon for those who throw doctrine like stones? Right now, we are throwing stones at LGBTQ plus brethren who instead, tomorrow, without confession, without changing their lives, will receive communion, pass through the holy door. And what will become of them then? They do not fear the judgment of God because God's law is unchangeable. To carry the cross. I have finished with this last episode. In the meantime, you can call if you wish on this Radio Domina number to take part. So I would like to conclude, as I told you at the start, and I repeat it, we must carry the cross. Tonight I will carry on after the rosary, and I will be waiting for you at around 21:30, roughly speaking. The inexhaustible, tireless Don Minutella, despite what he too must face, like all of you, on his own. And mind you, when I do this, there is the grace of God, but I am one like you, not an alien. I say it to you here, and to all of you at home, seeing as at the first to turn up you are off. I mean, it is not as if I am here playing games while I am at this from morning till night all day long. I am a human being, just like you. I do not know if you truly catch what I mean, or the needs you all have, but never mind. I look to Padre Pio, to the holy cure of ours, to Don Bosco, and I carry on and I go forward and I find strength. What you mean is everyone must carry his own cross. Tonight we will go deeper, but I will end with the episode I told you about. Padre Pio had the stigmata, and they bled, and he suffered the passion of Jesus. Once an Austrian priest came. He tells it himself in his testimony. Padre Pio was at the back, moving through two wings of crowd. He was already very elderly, and at a certain point he, the Austrian priest, Padre Pio, was already with his back turned, moving on slowly, blessing the people, and he was behind him. He was a young Austrian priest. He spoke to Padre Pio in his mind. Padre Pio, if you are listening to me, I am writing it in my book. And this Padre Pio, a man of God, he is writing, Padre Pio, if you are listening to me now, please allow me to truly live your suffering, to feel even just a bit of your suffering. He has barely finished saying it. He himself goes on to tell how, quite suddenly, he felt as if he were being carried off into another dimension. He starts to feel dizzy, his eyes turning bloodshot and very heavy, drowsy, weary, exhausted, his bones pulled tight, dark demons tormenting his mind, his stomach clenched shut, his heart pounding hard, his circulation reeling, his blood pressure utterly gone mad. He felt he was truly going completely mad only an instant later, and deep in his heart, he simply said, "Enough now, Padre Pio, enough." But above all, he never stopped saying, "Enough." Padre Pio turns around, and he goes like this, as if to say, "You've seen what you asked for, and you've seen for a moment what I've been living with for years." And anyway, one day, a Franciscan Capuchin missionary did go there, a friar who had a gastric ulcer, and so, as you surely know, an ulcer, like all gastrointestinal conditions, sadly, they do end up shaping your life. They really do. They weigh on it, so let's leave it there. And so he went to Padre Pio to complain, to make his grievance known. Padre Pio, I really have to go on mission, and I'm bringing up blood. I truly have to go on mission. I've got bad heartburn. When I go on mission in Africa, I've got to be careful about what I eat. I have to go to the loo very often. An irritable colon. Padre Pio looks at him and says, "Hey, my brother, each one with his own cross, all right? I've got this right here on my hands, and you've got it down in your stomach, haven't you? Otherwise, how do we get to heaven?" Dear LGBTQ brothers, God has allowed this cross for his mysterious designs and purposes. Why must it be this way? Do please embrace the cross of chastity and save your soul. May God in his mercy be willing to hear this prayer